Hey, welcome back. My guest in this segment is Greg Engel. He's the CEO of Organigram Holdings, trading on the TSX Venture under the symbol OGI. Greg, welcome back.
Thanks for having me again, James.
Greg, tell me, what has changed since October 17th for Organigram?
So a lot of exciting things for us. I think for one thing is having such a strong position in Atlantic Canada is a key for us in terms of, that's the only place in the country where all the retail stores are built out, up and running, fully functional. So we see across the country, certainly online sales available and a limited number of retail stores, but Atlantic Canada fully blown out, have product on the shelf. So on day one, looks like the same as it's going to look like in 3 months. So it's exciting.
Really? So are they making jokes about Western Canada now in the Maritimes?
No, I think people are just really proud of what's accomplished out there. The province of New Brunswick in particular has been a big proponent of this as an industry, has really been supportive of us as a company, but they really see job creation opportunities. As we've talked about before, the largest test lab in Canada, RPC, is there, and certainly they wanted to make sure early on that they had product for consumers, and that's why last September we struck a deal with them, as did Canopy, and it was the first deal ever announced in terms of a retail deal for cannabis for the adult rec space, and that was months ahead of anybody else.
Interesting. Do you think that the lack of an ability to sort of coordinate everything for October 17th is going to be a catalyst for continued black market opportunists who are still, out there?
Well, I think we can look at a market like Colorado, and even kind of 3 years, 4 years in, there is still a black market that exists. Different estimates would tell you it's between 10 and 12%. And I think, with the staggered launches we're going to see across Canada, other than Atlantic Canada, I think it is going to take a little bit longer to push out and displace the black market. But at the end of the day, consumers are going to be looking for, a tested, proven, regulated source for product. And I think that's going to be one of the things that's key. But at the end of the day, as well as we know, there's really 2 launches to this program, right? There's the launch this year with dried flower and the oils and edible oils and capsules, et cetera, that are available. But then there's next year when we get into the derivative-based products and edibles and beverages and everything. So it's going to be a slow and steady growth over time. And that's what people are excited about, is not just today, but what this looks like in 12 months from Wednesday.
Okay. You announced that you had unveiled a new brand called Trailblazer. And I'm assuming, just by the sound of the name, that it's a recreational brand.
It is, and I think Trailblazer, it's a bit of a kind of double entendre to it in terms of, blazing is a term that's used with cannabis users pretty commonly, but also kind of trailblazing, that as a company, as an industry, as a country, we're blazing the trail in terms of, cannabis legalization and having this adult recreational program. I think it's going to be, what's really interesting is the world is watching Canada, and it's a really exciting time to be here, and the coverage that we're seeing kind of, globally on what's happening in Canada has been building over time, and we'll continue to see that. So it's a bit of a play on that. So
sure. So you also closed a $5 million investment in European hemp and CBD producer Eviana. And is that because hemp is largely available in Europe and legal to sell?
Yeah, so we see that as an investment in 2 aspects. One is, they're a company currently publicly traded on the CSE, and they're one that we see great opportunity with in terms of they've actually been growing hemp with CBD in it for the last 3 years, and now they're in the stage of finalizing all their processing. So we'll have access to up to 25% of the CBD isolate or concentrate that they produce, at a discount to marketplace. So that gives us resources to allow to go after the European market, which we know today is primarily a medical CBD market, as well as a nutraceutical market going forward. But the other aspect as well is, our strategy kind of international is very much to look at who's a strategic partner. This is a low-cost source. We believe in the operational team there. We spend a lot of time, and our management team has spent time with them. So it's, we don't need to go in and fully acquire a company. It's let's find the best partner, let's invest in the right partner, and get access to the market.
Interesting. Then their certification process with EcoCert, what is the significance of that?
Yeah, so really exciting for us to get our organic certification back. I mean, as we know, the company is called Organigram, and we have roots in organic production. And going back over a year and a half ago, we lost our organic certification due to some issues around production, and we've been working closely with them over the last year and a half to really get that back. So critical for us in terms of today serving our medical patients, and then moving forward in the future providing an organic product for the recreational market. While we certainly feel that there's a great opportunity for organic, it's not all of what we're going to be producing. We're actually producing less than 5% of our total organically, but we see there is definitely a market demand and a need there, both medically and in the rec market as well.
Yeah, I can tell you unequivocally that I will only be buying organic products, so I'll be looking forward to that. So you say only 5% of your entire supply. Is that reflective of the marketplace demand for organic versus non-organic?
It's a bit of a combination of two things. One is that the market demand is still untested, so we're not exactly sure what it is. But I think the other is that we know from a production perspective, organic production is challenging. You certainly don't see the same yields. And I was on with you not that long ago talking about our record yields and our low cost of goods through our mineral production. So certainly we'll never be able to match up with our organic production what our mineral production is in terms of the type of yields and the low cost. And what's yet to be determined is really still what level of premium will the market pay for an organic product. So certainly we've had experience in the medical market, but none in the rec market as of yet. So
interesting. Great. Well, so you're supplying into all of the provinces, or all of the provinces of Eastern Canada, and you have the ability to supply Ontario as well, assuming that they roll out on October 17th. There's a lot of the provinces are coming out with no stores, and apart from Alberta and the Maritimes, no stores and an online presence. So it strikes me as interesting in a not exactly positive way that so the LPs are going to send product to the Provincial Cannabis Agency. The Provincial Cannabis Agency will then forward it on to end users and customers. But and then you're limited to how much you can possess and how much you can buy and everything. Is it conceivable that at some point they're just going to say, you know what, let's just let the LPs sell directly to the end user, thereby eliminating a cost and a timeline impediment, and let the customers in the market decide? You see that happening?
Well, ultimately what we've seen, so we've got agreements, as you said, not only in Atlantic Canada, but also Ontario, Manitoba, Alberta as well, and we're looking to formalize agreements in British Columbia and Saskatchewan to truly be a national player. What we're really seeing is across all of Canada that other than Saskatchewan and Newfoundland, the Provincial Liquor Board / Cannabis Board is the primary wholesaler, and with that wholesale ability, they're also taking on the role of being the mail order fulfillment. So they are centrally warehousing product. They are looking to have it in a central location. So I think there is kind of an advantage from a consumer perspective of being able to order product from different companies from one source online. And I think that's we look at it from what's the best experience for the consumer, how are they looking to do that. Newfoundland actually in the early days is going to have product shipped directly from the LPs that are providing the marketplace. So that is a bit different because they don't have a central warehousing. But everywhere else really other than Saskatchewan, they're centrally warehousing. So they probably are the best solution for direct mail order today.
And you partnered with Canopy Growth in Newfoundland and Labrador. Now that's interesting. As one might say, was this Canopy Growth making a move towards, more participation in Organigram as a company?
Well, I think certainly we're recognized, and we've talked before about how we're seen as a leader with our indoor production of a very high quality product. As we've talked about in the past, we won 2 of the Canadian Cannabis Awards from Lyft last November. We're actually up for 9 awards this fall, and we'll see the results at the end of November. So, one of the key things is our high quality product is in very high demand. So that agreement with Canopy in Newfoundland is not unique. We've got an agreement with Haiku in Manitoba as well. So really we have retailers coming to us, whether or not they're owned and or affiliated with a licensed producer or they're independents, and the government agencies coming to us looking for that high quality product, because we're really the only company other than Kronos that has continued to build out with indoor production and producing a high quality indoor grown product.
And interesting to me is the fact that despite your commitment to obviously growing premium flower grown in an indoor environment, you've also got a bit of a hedge on your bets in terms of lowest input cost per unit in the future based on your investment in Hyasynth Biopharma. And I don't know if I got the name right there, Hyasynth Bio, I know it is, but So how is that progressing? We had Kevin Chen in here, and he mentioned that they were moving towards commercial scale production of CBDs from GMO modified organisms. And is that still are they at the state of commercial scale yet?
Not yet. So they have proven, Hyasynth to date has proven that they can produce CBG, CBD, and THC through yeast fermentation with genetically modified yeast, and then converting olivitol, which is a precursor molecule, to the various cannabinoids with proprietary enzymes. So they've been able to do that benchtop, small scale, and have been building that up. So two paths they're taking right now. One is working with a contract manufacturer who has a long experience in this area to help them optimize as they scale up. So going from a 1 liter vessel or a 2 liter vessel is very different from producing in a 100 liter vessel. So going through that process, and that's what they're working on right now. And then looking to move forward on terms of having their own facility at a larger, small initial pilot scale for commercial use. And I think one of the things I know Kevin spoke about when he was on is that at the end of the day, the amount of capital that's required to do this is very low, and that's certainly the amount of production that you can produce of it. Ultimately, a pure cannabinoid, is a penny on the dollar or 2 cents on the dollar versus plant-based production. So definitely a hedge, and we see it as really a disruptive technology for the future.
Because I guess just like most medical grade insulin is produced the same way, at some point there's going to be a high level of contribution from biosynthetics.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, more than half the world's insulin's produced that way. A lot of vitamins are produced that way, and biologic for pharmaceutical. And again, at the end of the day, it's not only they're producing the pure, CBG, CBD, THC today. The work has already started on minor cannabinoids as well, and ultimately you could see in the future where the company is looking to produce kind of, some unique formulation products that include minor cannabinoids at a set level, which you couldn't get from a plant-derived extraction methodology. So I think there's a lot of creativity that can come into it and a lot of product differentiation, especially as we go into products like beverages and edibles and, vaporizable products. So a lot of excitement around what Hyasynth's doing, and really a great partner for us to work with.
Sure. I was talking to another company that was involved in the creation of stabilizing agents for cannabinoid products that are liquids, foodstuffs, etc. Is the stability of cannabinoids in produced products that are typically contain fats and acids, is that an outstanding issue that has yet to be solved, or is that something that is well in hand and is just part of the process of developing the product?
Yeah, so I think there's really two aspects to that. One is, cannabinoids in their pure form and a stored form, and we're already building up extract concentrate for next year in terms of the edibles market and the vaporizable market. So we've been, taking byproduct from and producing that and storing it, and it doesn't degrade over time in a pure form. So that's kind of one aspect. I think it depends at the end of the day on the formulation and what you're putting the product into, right? Whether or not that can degrade over time, and is there a loss? And I think, a lot of the work right now, and we're working on, the emulsification process, and, the key in areas like emulsification is coming out with, the ideal structure in terms of not only is it stable and fully in solution, but also what is the particle size that you end up with, right? So a particle size of 100 nanometers will cross the blood-brain barrier and have an immediate effect. Particle size of 100 nanometers doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier very easily, so it doesn't have the same effect overall. So, but in terms of stability, it really depends on the end product, right? Is it in a food product? Well, then the food is actually the less stable component over time, right? And if you think of, some of the markets in the US, like brownies, for example, or baked goods, they have a very short shelf life. So you don't, it's not what the cannabinoid shelf life is. It's really the edible product itself.
Interesting. So not a huge issue.
Again, it depends on the product and how long you're looking on the life cycle.
Okay, so Organigram, and I always gathered by your background that Organigram would be very focused on the idea of cannabinoids as a medical ingredient, and with an eye towards supporting new medical products derived from cannabinoids. Is that something that you have been, sort of focused on, and is that evolving into a bigger part of the Organigram picture?
It has been part of our focus, and I think at the end of the day, our Hyasynth agreement was part of that focus, right? Getting a source of a pure cannabinoid which lends itself to those formulations. We actually did submit with a partner company last year a unique delivery form for Health Canada approval, but ultimately they didn't approve it because of the way there's restrictions on formulations and additives and agents that give you stability right now. So, but I think we're still always looking at what are those products look like from a delivery perspective, because ultimately on a medical side you want consistent and concise dosing, and that's the critical thing. Not that that's not important recreationally, but I think that's one of the keys. So we continue to evaluate technologies and determine, what is the best move. But now that we will have a source going forward of a pure, active pharmaceutical ingredient from Hyasynth in the future, that really sets us up for those new products.
Okay, Greg, we're going to leave it there for now, and we'll come back to you, of course, as we always do, in due course. And so thanks for joining me again today.
Great. Thanks, James.